My name is Mason Dashney, and I'm doing the Applied Operations Management Analysis for McDonald's Corporation. Okay, so first we're going to start off with a presentation agenda, going over the introduction and problem statement, which is going to include industry overview and the location, and then an industry analysis, which is going to include the PESTEL, Porter's 5 forces, KSFs, and the 5 driving forces of change. And then 3, company and competitor overview. That's going to be on McDonald's profile, A&W, Wendy's, and Burger King, who all their competitors are. And then number 4, it's going to be location planning and SWOT. And then number 5 is going to be operations analysis, which is going to include a process map and quality management and aggregate planning. And then key findings. And then we're going to finish it off with 3 SMART recommendations and a conclusion and next steps. So let's get this started. So first off, I'm going to start with the introduction. Just some introductory context about McDonald's. Canada's fast food industry is worth $27.6 billion, and they're growing. They're going to continue to be growing all the way until 2033. There's over 21,000 fast food establishments in Canada and 410,000 Canadians employed in the industry. Some issues are rising costs and health awareness, with us being so in touch with AI and our ability to have all the information at our fingertips. As a younger generation, we're just more aware of what we're being put into our bodies, which can kind of have some downside because customers are moving away from fast food And then global fast food is expected to grow 3% from 2025 to 2029 from the U.S. from $119.6 billion US. So the problem we have here. So this is the specific location, which is on 3100 Lakeshore Road on the corner of Lakeshore and Kalo. So some challenges that we face is a physical constraint. It is part of a Shell gas station. There's no room to expand for a second lane on the drive-through. There's not enough parking, and there's no more additional dine-in seating as well. Another problem is labor pressure. BC has the highest minimum wage in Canada at $18.25 an hour, which can push some pressure from McDonald's themselves. And then season volatility. Kelowna really backs a lot of their service industry on tourism and hospitality. So during those peak summer months, this McDonald's has a lot of turnover and a lot of people coming through the doors. And the winters seem to be pretty quiet because really people are coming here for the beaches and the nice weather, and you can't really do those in the winter. And then lastly is the competitive pressure, with there being an A&W a couple doors down, and then there's also a Dairy Queen as well. There's really some pressure between a patron going somewhere else for their meal. So now I'm going to talk about the PESTEL analysis. So first off, I'm going to start off with the political. Again, what I mentioned earlier, the $18.25 an hour. It's the highest in Canada, which really makes a difference. And then also immigration. Like we had a lot of immigrants kicked out of Canada recently, and it's been really affecting the QSR industry. And then also municipal zoning. It's pretty hard for them to expand or do anything without their co-tenant also being involved as well. So now we're going to move on to economic. Meals now are costing over $15 for fast food. I know, it's hard to believe. With that average median household in Kelowna being $85,000, it is a lot. But with these fast food options, it's almost cheaper going to a mom and pop place and getting a more sustaining meal at that price point. And then also the rising costs of the US tariffs and stuff like that. The good thing about McDonald's is that they strictly only buy Canadian products rather than um, US grade beef, for example. They do get some of their products from the States, like napkins and ketchup and stuff like that, but it doesn't affect them as much as it could in some of these other brands. So now I'm going to move on to the social aspect of it. Again, what I was saying, the younger generation is becoming more health conscious of what they're putting into their body, and they're kind of moving away from QSR industries. Social media is a big driven fact from that, with the whole seed oil thing and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, and all age groups are served in the southern Pandozi area. So now I'm going to move on to technology. Technology is really important with mobile apps. That's DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, and Uber Eats. They really reshape revenue. People are ordering from their couch and are still getting their food right to their doors, especially in a fast food environment. Kiosk ordering will eventually replace frontline staff with AI and loyalty programs and everything like that. It's really going to be making a shift in the overall environment. So now I'm going to talk about environmental. So McDonald's and other companies around tend to use a lot of single-use items. Whether that's plastic, whether that's not, it's still a single-use item, and it does take a while for it to decompose. Being in Canada, we are a step ahead of the States. We did get rid of the plastic straws, which really helped out, but it still isn't enough. And it will change eventually, but I don't know how soon. So now, moving on to the last one, legal. BC Employment Standards Act governs wages, overtime, scheduling. Sometimes companies can short you out of pay or overtime or stuff like that, and they'll really try to rework the schedule. So especially on holidays like it is this weekend, they won't schedule you if you've worked over 15 days. Food safety is a really big thing within the fast food industry. If something is undercooked, it can be quite an alarm, and it's not great for your brand reputation and image. Okay. Moving on to Porter's 5 forces and key success factors. I'm going to start off with the key success factors and then go into the 5 forces. So starting off, I found that the key success factors that were most relevant was speed and convenience. You want to have your it to be as fast as possible, and you want to be in and out. That's the whole reason you're going to a QSR restaurant, is for you to be in there and out there in under 5 minutes. And the service quality, you don't expect it to be amazing, but you don't want it to be terrible. If someone's having a bad day, you don't want them to take it out on you. Next is brand image. Having a good brand image within your industry is always great, especially in fast food, where as soon as one location or someone gets a bad someone gets a bad rep, it can really turn on your head and it can work against you. Next is competitive pricing. You don't want to have your prices too high like some restaurants, but you also don't want to have them too low. Otherwise, you won't be able to compete and make much revenue. And now consistency. You need to be consistent with your products. The one thing McDonald's does really, really well is that you can get a Big Mac in Amsterdam and you can get a Big Mac in Argentina, and you will still get the exact same Big Mac, which is always nice. And now breadth of menu. You want to be able to have lunch, breakfast, dinner. You want to be able to offer people the most variety of products to really expand your repertoire and increase that brand image that we talked about earlier. Okay, now with those out of the way, let's talk about the five forces. So now we're going to start off with competitive rivalry. I marked it as high with competitors like A&W, Dairy Queen, Harvey's, Triple O's, Burger King, Wendy's, and then McDonald's. There is a lot of rivalry. With QSR restaurants, people just tend to come and go whatever is the most convenient, whatever is in budget, or whatever is really their favorite. So people do tend to stay loyal to these types of restaurants, but it is really easy for them to switch up. So now I'm going to go with threat of new entry. I mark that as low because these brands are huge. It's going to be quite hard for you to start franchising without the experience and without the capital. So for a threat of new entry, that would be someone who already has the capital. So maybe like a Save On Foods or someone like that to expand into the QSR industry. And the market is super saturated. People are tending to lean more towards healthier and better items. So maybe shifting that towards the industry could offer a new light, or maybe even a plant-based or something along the lines of that. So now next, I'm going to talk about threat of substitute. Threat of substitute is high, very high, because home cooking. You can cook at home. You can still get your meal wherever. You can always go to a restaurant if you want, like a QSR type service. Even in the southern Pandosy area and Lower Mission, there is other healthier options like Edo and Urban Fare and other places like that as well. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about supplier power. There isn't much power that the supplier holds just based on the scale that these companies are doing in that. So McDonald's, A&W, Wendy's, Burger King, all these big burger companies are sourcing their beef from one place. And if they decided, nope, we don't want to supply with you anymore, they wouldn't have any power at all. A lot of other companies would be happy to take these companies on for suppliers, really. So that's why it was low to medium. And finally, we have buyer power. Buyers don't have any power. There's so many alternatives, and there's so much switching as well. It doesn't matter if I buy McDonald's one day and I buy A&W the next. They won't necessarily notice if I buy McDonald's 2 days in a row. Their competition will not. It'll not show up in their revenue. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the competitor analysis. These were the 3 competitors I picked out against McDonald's, A&W, Wendy's, and Burger King. A&W with the highest amount of locations. And no, this is not the A&W that is in the States. This is A&W Canada, which is a strict division, and it's its own separate entity as well. So their annual revenue is $1.33 billion, and that threat is high. A&W has a equally as large market share in the Canadian market. As well as they offer fresher ingredients, which could pull other competitors in who have more money because their products do cost more. So next is Wendy's. Their annual revenue is about $1 billion, and they only have 448 locations in Canada. They're known for they're always fresh, never frozen beef, and it is a premium price as well. They do offer a wide breadth, not as much as say McDonald's does, but it is very wide, and they're only a medium threat. Next is Burger King. They have about 179 locations located in Canada. Their annual revenue in Canada is not disclosed, and their threat is medium. They're known for their flame broiled burgers, and they compete on the low price side with McDonald's, a direct hamburger competitor. And then down there at the bottom, McDonald's, there's 1,489 Canadian locations, and they have $7.1 billion in gross sales in 2023, which is significantly more than A&W. And they're just number 2 behind Tim Hortons. So now I'm going to talk about the service process map and the customer journey. If you could squint your eyes with me, starting up on the top left with the customer arrives. So they arrive, and then the front of house staff greets customer and welcomes and seats if needed. And then customer reviews the menu, front of house takes the order, confirms the details with customer, and then they enter it into the POS system. After they enter into the POS system, the customer pays, and the customer waits, and the POS ticket is sent to the kitchen. The kitchen receives the order and reviews the order, and then it cooks the food, it quality checks, and package it, and bags it. Next, they pass the order to the counter, and then that's where the handoff happens. The order is called out by a number. They collect order, they deliver the drink and food to the customer. Customer exits. Server checks in retail, and then back on the right side on the top left. Customer finishes. Customer exits. Staff resets the area, cleans the trays, empties the garbage. If there is an issue involved with a rude customer, staff would identify it, attempt to resolve the situation, and they would call the manager. The manager is really this person who is meant to be doing it. They assess the situation, the manager intervenes, decides the next action. Hey, maybe they need to be escorted, maybe they can be resolved. And then that'll be done accordingly as well. And then the customer leaves and issues are all resolved. And that is the customer journey of someone who comes in to the restaurant. So now I'm going to talk about the location overview on 3100 Lakeshore Road. So first of all, that's the address. They're open 24/7, 7 days a week, which gives them a competitive advantage. There is nothing like that in the Southern Mission area that offers that type of open. Format, they have a drive-through and dine-in, and then also available for delivery through the apps as well. Their co-tenant is a Shell gas station, which is a curse and a blessing all by itself, but I'll touch into that later. The city population is about 144,000 residents with a quite low growth rate. And some key traffic generators are the beaches. We get tons of people here in the summer, and we get a lot of people at the beaches as well. Pandozzi Village, that means the grocery stores and the shopping stores all close by, all in walking proximity to this location. And then Okanagan College, our own true school. It is just walking distance from this McDonald's. We also have KGH, Kelowna General Hospital. It is also walking distance as well. Kelowna Secondary School, which is right beside Okanagan College, is walking distance, and there's a bus stop right out front, which puts in a lot of foot traffic and helps the employees get to work. So now I'm going to be talking about the SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of location planning. So starting off with some strengths, it is on Lakeshore Road. There is a huge amount of vehicles that go there every single day to get to work, to get to school, to get to wherever they need to go. Next one would be Gyro Beach. Gyro Beach is one of the biggest tourist spots in Kelowna, and there's tons of opportunity there, which I will touch on to later. And what I mentioned last slide is it's the only 24-hour QSR in the immediate area. There's nothing else like it. It's the only one that is open that late that isn't a pizza place like Domino's. Next, OC and KSS nearby. It's great for part-time student programs, and it's a good labor pipeline too to get students into the working force. McDonald's is 100% Canadian sourcing with Canadian beef and Canadian French fries, and it really limits the tariffs too. It could have a substantial price increase if tariffs were involved. And then again, with the bus stop outside, it's a great access for staff and its customers. So some weaknesses. It is embedded in the Shell gas station. There's no room for expansion. You can't. There's only about 8 to 10 chairs inside, and they're all bar stools, unfortunately. Next weakness is that it's a single lane drive through. There's no room for expansion to make a double. I know a lot of the newer McDonald's location are having double lane drive throughs, which is something that this location cannot do. There's no dedicated customer parking. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the no room for expansion, and there's not really much seating inside. Customers aren't able to go in and park. They're kind of jammed up and have to go find somewhere in the gas pump area. Next, we have the BC minimum wage of $18.25. It is very high, especially in Canada, when Alberta is just a little over $15 an hour. So next, some opportunities, some OC student loyalty programs. And that isn't just related to OC. It could be mission loyalty programs as well, with the KSS and the KLO school involved, getting students there rather than getting students to their location. Another opportunity is summer pop-up promotions. Again, what I said with Gyro Beach, going down to the beach, setting up a pop-up tent and having like a wheel spin where people can win prizes and coupons and stuff like that to really push customer retention. And then promo codes for late night deliveries, and kind of emphasize that it might even become cheaper after 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., something like that. So now to some threats. A&W is so close that people almost don't really know which one to pick sometimes. They also have the Okanagan wildfires can disrupt supply chain routes. So there's 2 distribution points here that distribute to McDonald's. It's in Calgary and Vancouver. So with those 2 highways, Rogers Pass and the Coquihalla, we have wildfires and we have snow. So that can really risk delays and understock into our stores if those were to happen. And then our last threat is that the younger generations are becoming more health conscious. Especially as a QSR brand, McDonald's could lead in towards healthier products, but they have done that in the past and it didn't work out so well. So I do believe they're going to switch to more of a low-cost program, which they already have started running out with the $5 deal. Okay, so moving on to the quality management plan. There's 3 that they measure it by: the QMS, quality management system, TQM, total quality management, and then drive-through speed metrics. So QMS, the quality management system, it's standardized procedures at every location globally. And then the KPIs are tracked from store to store. Lakeshore competes on drive-through speed metrics, which I'll get to later. The quality management system, like I was talking about earlier, is that you want to have the same product and the same experience at whatever McDonald's you are in the world. So that's one way they can make sure quality is normalized. And then total quality management is every employee has responsibility for quality outcomes. So that doesn't matter if you're the person taking the order, you're the person giving them the bag, you're the person making the food, you're the person bagging the fries, you're the person making the drink. It doesn't matter. You're all accountable for one product, and it really goes to show. And lastly, all those last 2 is the drive-through speed metrics. When I was working at this McDonald's, they would compete with other stores and they would get bonuses based on how fast you can get cars through the drive-through, which made people work faster with incentives. And then lastly, they're kind of gamed through non-peak hours, the drive-through speed metrics, and staff just push cars through. which can kind of cheat the system. So I think it definitely needs to be reworked and looked at again. So now I'm going to go on with aggregate planning, demand and capacity management. So first off, I'm going to start off with the lead strategy. They're going to hire from March to April to train before the June rush. The summer is when they're really rushed through. And that can be something that they can plan for. Next is the level strategy. Core full-time crew retained all year round, maintains instructional knowledge, reduces constant retaining cost, and baseline service quality floor. Next is the chase strategy. Seasonal hired May to September. Hours reduced in October for those seasonal workers, and then matches staffing to tourist demand. So through that May to September, hiring these seasonal workers. And then we're just going to use a level of all of them in a combination approach. We're going to hire early. We're going to make sure our core is retained and has enough hours. And then we're going to hire seasonally and then reduce through the winter months. So these are some key findings that I found. The physical capacity ceiling, we can't expand any more than we possibly could, and there's no dedicated parking. Next is service quality gap, reoccurring wrong orders and cold food, and drive-through speed metrics gained at low traffic hours, which aren't accurate necessarily. Next, we have labor cost pressure at $18.25 an hour, rising costs. It can really take a difference. Next is strong market access, which is how the proximity to all of these local companies and local tourist points. And then 24-hour competitive advantage, only 24-hour QSR in the area, which is nice. And that's good for shift workers, but also people who want to get a late night snack as well. And then corporate infrastructure, they did start using Google Cloud AI forecasting and SQMS supplier quality to make sure everything is on pace and steady. Next, we have our first smart recommendation, which is late night delivery growth. So that is having a code from 10 till 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning to kind of get people to order later, like kind of have an incentive to be pushing past the normal scheduled time to have a consistent flow of orders and to keep workers busy as well. And that could be launched within the first 3 months as well. So next we're going to talk about an OC student loyalty program. Having not just a loyalty program, but being there at their job fair events, talking to students, getting them in the pipeline of possible work experience with them, and then also offering them a discount code. Students are poor. We want codes to go somewhere, and this really would give us an incentive to go there. And then third and finally, we have the Gyro Beach Summer Campaign. As I mentioned before, that this would include a pop-up with people where employees could spin a wheel and you could win prizes and coupons, and it would really just get people in the store and get some ice cold drinks and some incentives. And we could activate this at the very beginning of summer and do it every single month. So now, conclusion and next steps. Overall, they are kind of limited on space, and they need to either find a larger space in the area or just think about what they have. It is in a great location with tons of things around it. There's tons of foot traffic to it, especially on a very popular road and corner. It is open 24/7, but again, ultimately, the space is really what condemns them into a smaller area. So kind of some next steps there would be implementing the smart recommendations that I had, especially the student one. With you want to be able to have a lot of staff, especially with fast food, there tends to be a lot of staff turnover. Just creating this pipeline of having someone there constantly is always a good fact. And then also just having these discount codes for students. It's already a lot of students from KSS and Okanagan College do go there, but it could be more as well. So just some things to think about and some next steps as well. And thank you so much. This is the beautiful McDonald's location on Lakeshore and Kalo. Thank you.